What's up, Acolyte Squad? My name is Prince and I'm an urban acolyte. This is going to be my review / reaction / discussion of the most recent episode of The Mandalorian. I believe that is the Believer episode. So I'm going to do this the old way I used to do it. Quick rundown of the episode, and then we'll get into the three themes that we always talk about. Or the three questions. How does this progress Din Djarin's story? How does this progress Baby Grogu, B. Jeezy's story? And how does this episode contribute to the bigger narrative, the overall story with The Mandalorian? So in this episode, it is really a callback to what people were calling a filler episode from season 1, when we saw Bill Burr's character, Maze, who was an Imperial sharpshooter, Mando and Maze and that team, who was actually Din Djarin's old team that he was, I guess, doing crimes or whatever with. They break into a Republic ship, and we've seen that episode, like I said, many people were calling it filler, but I keep saying there are no fillers in these shows, because one little side story, side adventure could play a big part in some future story. And that's what we're kind of seeing, is that the New Republic that came to the aid of Din Djarin in that prison break, because Din Djarin, the heroic actions that he committed, they played a part in the episode with Frog Lady. Right. And then we saw again one of those pilots play a big part in Cara Dune becoming one of the new Rangers of the New Republic, which I think I haven't had a chance to look at all of the stuff from the Disney, the investors call on Thursday, or it was Friday morning for me. But I think that whole thing with Cara Dune being kind of this sheriff out there in the Outer Rim, or a new Ranger, I think that's going to be the subject of that spinoff, because I did hear rumors mostly from John Campea that Cara Dune's character, played by Gina Carano, would probably be getting a spinoff. And when Bob Iger first said this back in January, I kind of said, I don't know if Cara Dune's character can carry a spinoff, but apparently the thing that I predicted I didn't see being likely is happening. So from now on, I guess whenever I say, here's this thing that could happen, but I don't see it happening, it seems like that's exactly, or almost exactly, what often does happen. Right. But anyway, so they go and they have to get Maze, because they need his help finding Moff Gideon. From the previous episode, the tragedy, Moff Gideon has managed to get his hands on B. Jeezy. That's something that one Carlo Esposito kind of hinted at, and I said I was expecting to see him get his hands on the child at some point during the season. And it turns out that, heading into the finale, they're trying to mount a rescue mission to rescue B. Jeezy from the Imperial Remnants forces led by Moff Gideon. So this episode, they go to this planet, and it's like a mining colony, and we find out that the Empire is mining this explosive compound or element strictly for the purpose of causing chaos throughout the Outer Rim, right? They're chaos agents. It's like, well, we're going to commit all this chaos and destruction, and the New Republic is going to they're either going to scramble to respond, or they're not. And either way, people will be begging for the return of the Empire. They're going to be, begging for order, that the New Republic is unable to provide. And May's character has an interesting turn because, throughout the voyage to get there, right, we see an awesome action scene from the Mando to make up from last week's episode where he was pretty much knocked out through most of the episode while Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are handling most of the action, and then he finally comes to and he comes in to assist them. But he didn't really do too much during the tragedy episode, so he made up for that. And I feel like the action, the fight scenes tell a narrative, right? So his blaster, the Imperial blaster rifle, runs out of charges, doesn't work, and he's forced to fight with the spear. And what this is setting up is that, he knows how to handle a spear. Well, guess what weapon he has that could possibly stand up to a lightsaber? He's got that Beskar steel. And then in the short fight with Ahsoka Tano, what did we see? That Beskar can stand up to a lightsaber, right? And then, of course, we also saw the magistrate, Diana Lee Inosanto. She also sparred or dueled against Ahsoka, with both of her dual wielding, with the Beskar spear. So, when it comes down to, who is Moff Gideon going to be fighting with the Darksaber? When Carlo Esposito said he's going to be using it a lot, that, he broke several of them while they were rehearsing and training and then shooting the fight scenes. We're waiting to see that. This dude has the Darksaber in his possession. And not only that, but he knows how to use it. Well, it looks like we might be seeing a duel between Din Djarin and Moff Gideon wielding the Darksaber. Now, Moff Gideon, I would really like it if he comes out with some force pushes or a force choke or something. Maybe Din Djarin manages to best him, right? To take his weapon from him. And then in true Palpatine fashion, it's like, just when you thought you'd won the duel, Master Windu, I got something in store for you. No. Right? That whole thing. Shout out to all the people who think Mace Windu survived being electrocuted to death and then force pushed from who knows how many story window, right? He probably landed somewhere on level 1313, but unconscious and in a splatter, right? He went splat on level 1313, but Mace Windu survived. Yeah, right. So anyway, getting back to this episode, Maze that was the big thing in the episode when Maze turned on a former Imperial who was his commanding officer, who's, and I heard somewhere that guy is actually who played the Night's King in Game of Thrones. I'm not going to check that, but it was an interesting thing that I saw on Twitter this morning. But May is turning and just shooting the guy point blank in the chest, and then it's like, we got to shoot our way out of this, right? How else can we make our escape? That and Din Djarin removing his helmet, showing his face. Those were the two big things for me that stood out in this episode. And it made me question, this episode is called The Believer, right? And usually the titles of the episode refer to one of these characters who's introduced into the episode, right? The Jedi was did we get the Traveler or something like that? The first episode, was Cobb Vanth, wearing, the Marshal. He was the Marshal. And I'm wondering, who is the Believer supposed to be? Is it Maze believes in that the Empire actually is wrong, and maybe he's become kind of this DJ type character, meaning DJ from The Last Jedi. What's his name? I just forgot his name. Everybody thought he was going to be Ezra Bridger at one point in time. I really can't remember his name. I'm about to call him Antonio Banderas. Right? Y'all know who I'm talking about that played DJ. Don't join. Big Effin. don't join, right? Who was like playing both sides, the New Republic and the First Order, because he was like, you know what, at the end of the day, the people who were there on Canto Bight, it's like they're the ones profiting. They're playing both sides of the war, right? They're supplying the weapons and the arms to the First Order and to the New Republic and the Resistance. And they're the ones who come out on the end. It doesn't matter win, lose, or draw. The people who are funding the war efforts are the ones who are making the big profits, right? That's like the come to Jesus moment that Tony Stark has in Iron Man, is he's like, yo, man, I got this Iron Man suit and I'm fighting bad guys, but the bad guys are using Stark tech. So what am I really doing, right? I'm making weapons, and it doesn't matter who wins or who loses, right? People suffer in the end, and I'm a part of that equation, right? So that's the thing that Maze has, and I'm like, well, what is he believing in, that war is wrong? Or then you look at, you know, Din Djarin removes his helmet, shows his face. What does he believe? Because, all right, now we're transitioning. So y'all, I mean, the episode, we know, they successfully get the codes to locate Moff Gideon, and I'm guessing they need some kind of transponder code or something, you know, to give his ship to get them to let down the shields and admit, you know, Slave One. And then they let Maze free. They say, Maze died in a mining explosion on this planet, and so they set him free, right? He's kind of redeemed himself. Redemption is going to be a big part it's been a big part of this season with, Boba Fett and his redemption, which, I don't think I talked about that in a video where I was like, these are the 3 reasons that I see Boba Fett coming back to Star Wars and being part of the Mandalorian. I thought he was going to be big in season 3, and he still might be, especially with this big team up, right? I didn't think that he would be a part of the story until season 3. I thought it would be season 2 teased him, yo, he's here, and then he would locate Din Djarin somehow, or there'd be a return to Tatooine, and then it would be like, yo, I want my armor back. But I'm glad he got it before the Razor Crest got blown up. Of course, if it's Beskar, it would have survived the explosion, right? The orbital bombardment. Excuse me. But like I said, redemption seems to be a big part of BGZ had a bit of a redemption, right? People were upset that he ate Frog Lady's eggs, and the Lucasfilm folks, Pablo Hidalgo, were like, y'all need to chill out, wait until the next episode. Like I said, people in there, getting upset and triggered by everything. You need to wait until you get the full story before you start spouting off about what you didn't like, what offended you, this and that, because what ended up happening, Frog Lady, Frog Daddy have to babysit BGZ. One of their tadpoles hatched from the eggs, and then BGZ's crying because that's like his best friend now, right? He was like, I want to go back, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe that tadpole might have the Force too. That's my headcanon. Is that tadpole that was BGZ's best friend? They have the Force together. They're Force friends. So maybe at some point later, BGZ will go back and find his tadpole buddy and find Big Tad, right? DJ Tad, and train DJ Tad up in the ways of the Force. That's right. That's right. That's right. Man, I just took some of y'all away. Only I wonder in the comments, let me know who got that reference, right? That's right. That's right. DJ Taz for your monkey. I just took y'all back to 97 on that one. High school, senior year. I actually saw DJ Taz perform at Morehouse College. At Morehouse College, when I was in a pre-freshman orientation seminar, whatever it was called, and Sean King, yes, that Sean King, that's the SJW white guy pretending to be black. Sean King was in my cohort group, so if you ask me, Sean King, I thought he was black, right? I thought he was mixed, really, really high yellow black dude. So That's my official statement on that. I'm sure the Fandom Menace geeks who watch my channel are going to have something to say about me having been friends with Sean King. It's not that deep, you know. But you can check me if you don't believe me. Sean King went to Morehouse. I ended up not attending Morehouse. And if you really feel like stalking him, you can see that he's Facebook friends with some of the guys I went to high school with when we had a group of us all going to Morehouse, right? But anyway, that's a tangent. Back to the Mandalorian. So the three big things. What does this do for Din Djarin's story? Now, I said after meeting Bo-Katan and we learn about the little faction of Mandalorian zealots who raised Din Djarin. I think it's the Children of the Watch. I said that I think he's going to at some point have some kind of crisis, right? Seeing that they've removed their helmets. Boba Fett removes his helmet, right? This thing about, this is the way, the old way. You can never remove your helmet. You're a foundling. You have no identity within Mandalorian culture and this and that, other than to be a warrior and whatnot. It's like through his interaction, his experience, meeting the Jedi, being with BGZ, as his boy, his child, right? Not the child, his child, right? Is that he's kind of devoted himself to a higher cause. That's why I was like, who is the believer in this episode? He's devoted himself to a higher cause, right? And it's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily making sure that Grogu becomes a Jedi, but that he learns how to harness this power, to understand the ways of the Force, right? That's why I have this feeling that Grogu will become a Jedi, but not the Jedi that we're used to. I mean, Jedi is what the word really means, not joining the Jedi Order, but being a mystic sinner, right? Understanding, because he's using the Force, but it's, well, what does it mean to have this connection? What does it mean to have these abilities, through your strong connection, your high midi-chlorian count, and having already experienced some training, at the Jedi temple on Coruscant, right? So, I mean, he kind of is already on the path to becoming a Jedi, but he's got to take a path less traveled, an untraditional path to achieving his mastery for him, right? And I feel like Din Djarin is going to be a part of that path for a little while, right? Maybe a Jedi does eventually come and train him, and he decides to go with that Jedi Master or Jedi Knight, or a Padawan who is, further along the journey than Grogu was, even though, he's been, he probably spent 20 years. He probably spent 20 years at the, being trained at the Jedi Temple there on Coruscant, but I mean, he's still a baby. So, how much of that 20 years was he actually training versus he was, in a youngling pod somewhere, in the Jedi nursery, with the really little ones that they found, and their parents were like, yo, we got Force sensitive baby here, Jedi, come and get them. Like, they didn't even wait till they were 2 or 3 years old. They were just like, hey, as soon as I pop this out, y'all come and get it. Go on, take him to Coruscant, right? Pop that puppy on out. Here you go. Right. So, what did this do for Grogu's story? So Grogu is, he's Moff Gideon has him. The Empire has him. So, this, we don't really know other than we got to get him back. He wasn't part of this episode. This is part of setting up whatever's coming for him, hopefully a rescue. But I have a feeling that things might not go the way we think they'll go in the finale. Maybe they fail, and a big part of season 3 has to be we tried to go get him, but we underestimated Moff Gideon, and now we really got to pull people together and lick our wounds and go back and get him again and stop whatever Gideon is attempting to accomplish with him, right? We got a glimpse of it, but we probably won't get the full picture until, according to Giancarlo Esposito, we won't get the full picture until season 4 when it's all said and done, right? But though that, if I had to make a prediction for like right now for how the season would end, I would say it ends on a huge cliffhanger and we spend the next year, because season 3 is not supposed to come for another year, and well, for at the time I'm recording this, a year and 11 days. It's not supposed to come till Christmas of 2021. I'm recording this, Monday afternoon my time here in Bangkok. But I don't know. As far as the bigger narrative, there's a big question as far as what the bigger narrative is. I thought the bigger story would be the restoration of Mandalore, right? But I think that's going to be something that happens on the side, and Din Djarin's story will bump up against that, right? The bigger narrative is going to be told in all these spin-offs now, right? Because Ahsoka's doing her thing. There's all these. That's the thing about Star Wars is people. Because we had the Skywalker saga, everything dealt specifically with the Skywalker family and the story that they were part of. But the Galactic Rebellion touched many people, right? We learned that we got Saw Gerrera and his story, and Jyn Erso, her story. It was told through, books and set up in the Clone Wars with Saw Gerrera, her pappy, in a sense, her adopted father, and then Rogue One, and then these books, comic books, right? Spin-off pieces. Star Wars Rebels touched on, because I think Sabine at one point teamed up or accidentally with Jyn Erso, right, in a little Star Wars short cartoon animated episode, right? But even what the Rebels did, what Phoenix Squadron, or Phoenix Cell, whatever Hera's cell was called, right? They participated in what Jyn Erso was doing, right? If I'm not mistaken, Rebels, because they helped establish that base there on Tython, right, with Mon Mothma, and after Rebels has had their finale, right, then Jyn Erso, everything with Rogue One that happened, right? So the Rebels had actually pulled off a major victory against the Empire even before the one in Rogue One, but just nobody talked about it because maybe they were like, well, it's a victory, but was it? We had 2 Jedi who were who we knew about were working for the rebellion, but one died and one disappeared. So, it's like, and they were just focused on what's going on there on Lothal. So it wasn't the Rebel Alliance. It was just this cell of rebels there on Lothal had a victory, a major victory against the Empire by taking Grand Admiral Thrawn off the chessboard, right? We took their queen off the chessboard. And that allowed the heroism of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and his twin sister Leia Organa to work their magic and go with the will of the Force to turn the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, back to the light, and to hand Emperor Palpatine a major defeat, which would play a part in his ultimate defeat decades later at the hands of his granddaughter, who then, gave him the final kick to the balls and was like, and I'm going to make sure your name dies with you as potentially the last Palpatine, right? The last in the line of Palpatine. I'm going to take the name Skywalker and breathe life and redeem that name, that family name, right? Because people forget, to the bigger galaxy, there's still Skywalker is Darth Vader, right? And then when they hear, well, Rey Skywalker, they know that Palpatine came back, right? Somehow Palpatine has returned. And I never thought about this, right? But Skywalker is a name that for some people is in infamy, right? From bloodline. It hadn't been that long and people still kind of doubted Leia and were, kind of viewed Luke as possibly being suspect. Like, oh, well, he's Vader's child. What's to stop him from unleashing the Force on us, and we'd be powerless to stop him. And then it's, oh, Palpatine is back. And then, oh, well, Palpatine has been defeated. And who defeated him, right? This girl, and we've never heard of her, but she's Skywalker. And, well, I mean, Luke might have had a daughter. We don't really know what he'd been up to in the 30 years since, Death Star #2 got blown up and the Rebel Alliance defeated the Empire the first time around. Maybe she is his daughter, right? Nobody really knows. So we have that story, and what I was saying was people forget that it's a big galaxy. There's other stuff happening in the timeline. Other people are having their own adventures and their own stories, and all of these things can be impacted and affected. There could be crossovers, but I mean, it's just like at one time, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, was doing his thing and LeBron James was doing his thing, right? They're both in the NBA and they're playing their own seasons, but they're both telling their own respective stories. They're both having their own adventures, and 2 times a year they play against each other. And unfortunately, we never got that big showdown in the NBA finals that Nike was really hyping up, but it is what it is. It doesn't mean that they didn't both have their own respective narratives that were happening in parallel at the same time in the NBA. I mean, you could do that with anything, but I don't know, for some reason, drawing these parallels to basketball comes easy to me, right? Because basketball used to be my life. If y'all didn't know that, right? I could have been a college coach before I turned 25. It would have been D3, but hey man, a coach, whether you coach D1, D3, NAIA, Division 2, the college, National College, Bible College League, hey, you still coach. Coach is coach. Doesn't matter. NBA, WNBA, you're still a coach. Still a basketball coach. People call you coach. All right. So, but anyway, I don't know what the bigger story is. The bigger story right now it's the adventures of Din Djarin and BGZ and his mission, right? To return BGZ to his people, these sorcerers, and maybe Grogu chooses not to go, or maybe he does, and that's how the story ends. Is okay, he realizes that this is my duty and this is what I've got to do. And, it's like, well, I was a foundling and I didn't have the opportunity to go back with my people, my family, the place where I belong, because they were killed. But maybe Din Djarin learns who he really was, and maybe he's like, you know what, Mandalorian is a creed and it's a part of me, but I want to go back to my home planet and my home world. Maybe he has an extended family who survived the Clone Wars and that attack led by the battle droids, and he might reconnect with them. And it's like, in Grogu, you need to reconnect with the Jedi. Who knows, right? We have no idea how this story goes, but I feel like this, even though this episode was setting up the rescue of Grogu, I feel like it was setting up something bigger, right? Because he took off the helmet, he took off the mask. It showed those sweet brown eyes. He showed those brown eyes, and I don't think he's going to be able to go back to who he was. Just like how he changed from season 1, he hated droids, and then it's like IG-11, was IG-11 or IG-88, the IG unit, saved his life by performing first aid on him, and then gave up his, life, however you want to see it, to help them escape from the Empire and take down Moff Gideon. So they thought. And now, Maze had that talk with him, and he's like, yo, man, the Mandalorians were wrong too, right? What about all those centuries of war? What impact did that have on the Mandalorians who weren't warriors, who didn't live by the creed, who just wanted to be farmers, right? And they were innocent and they died because you guys love to fight, right? How do they feel about that? It might have been, how his people felt. We were innocent bystanders in the Clone Wars, and look what happened to us. So I think this episode did a lot as far as progressing Din Djarin's personal story, in addition to progressing the narrative, the rescue of Grogu and confronting Moff Gideon. So those are my feelings about the episode, but I'd like to hear yours. So, what did you think about the episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. And yeah, that's all I got for this one. So thanks for watching out. Thanks for hanging out and letting me kind of decompress and share my feelings. I need to get a fan in here because it's hot in the studio. I don't want to be sweating all over, dripping sweat once I get the actual studio lights out here. Because I don't know, I'd like to try to do some streaming. You guys know I have a Final Fantasy channel, Urban Acolyte Gaming, where I've been talking about the story in Final Fantasy. But I'm kind of thinking about streaming where I am in the game now, which is much, much further than the videos on that channel. Yeah, I think I'm about to start the second expansion. So I'm thinking about maybe doing that on Twitch or Facebook Gaming. I don't know. So you guys, if you like that kind of thing, I could do it on YouTube too. I'm not sure where I'd like to go with Final Fantasy gaming streams. It won't be on this channel. It'll be on either on Urban Acolyte Gaming channel or on Twitch or my Urban Acolyte Facebook page. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, let me stop and wrap this one up. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to me. And that's all I got for this one. So y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you always.